You are all welcome to the class once again. Your teacher is here to give you a sound teaching. I hope you enjoy the class. Thank you.
The topic before us is drug education, and we are to consider meaning of drug, meaning of hard drug, meaning of drug misuse, and meaning of drug abuse. I will start by defining drug. Drug refers to any biologically active substance that is foreign to the body, which is deliberately introduced to avert its functioning. Different people in different fields define drug with different definition, and another definition by medical practitioner is any substance used to manufacture medicine to cure diseases and ailments is also known as drug, according to the medical practitioners. So any substance that is foreign to the body, which is deliberately introduced to avert its functioning, that is what we know as drug. Now we move to the uses of drug. Uses of drug. 1. We use drug to treat sickness and ailment. We use drug to treat sickness and ailment. If somebody is sick, the person will need to take drug in order to get well. Another thing is to build up the muscles. If you want to build up your muscle, you take drug. Another thing is to reduce weight. If you are overweight, if you are obese, if you want to reduce your weight, you can also take drug. Another use of drug is to cure diseases. Different diseases require use of drug to cure it. Then to keep awake, that is being stimulated, we use drug for that purpose too. To reduce and relieve pain. If you are suffering from pain, if you want to reduce or relieve the pain, you take drug like pain relievers such as paracetamol and so on. Another thing is to stimulate the body for action. If you want to stimulate your body for action, if you want to walk, if you want to carry out hard work, you can also use drug. The last one under that is to induce sleep. If you are unable to sleep, you can also use drug to induce sleep. That is depressants. So we use depressants to induce sleepiness. Those are the uses of drug. We move to what is hard drug. Hard drug. Hard drug is any substance which, when taken into the body, alters or modifies the normal working of the body system. It is not formal. It is any substance which, when taken into the body, alters or modifies the normal working of the body system. There is no how you take hard drug that will not have or that will not alter your body or your normal working of the body system. So it either stimulates or depress your body system. What is drug misuse? Drug misuse. Drug misuse is the intake of drug in the ways that are not medically valid. When you take drug that is not prescribed by the medical personnel, then if you take drug that is not medically valid, we say that one is drug misuse. What is drug abuse? Drug abuse is excessive use of any substance that measurably damages health or impairs social, vocational or emotional adjustment. People abuse drug by taking drug in excess. In fact, some people will say this drug was given to me by medical personnel, but they failed to use it according to the prescription given to them by the medical personnel. We can also regard that one as drug abuse because it is taken in excess. Thereby, we move to self-medication. What do we mean by self-medication? Self-medication is the purchase and consumption of medicine or drug without the prescription of a qualified medical personnel. Some people have been doing this and they are well pleased when they carry out what we tag as self-medication. They'll just go outside, look for any chemist and purchase or buy drug, and they will consume it without the prescription of a qualified medical personnel. So what are the dangers of self-medication? That is the health consequence of drug misuse, drug abuse and self-medication. The dangers are the following. It can lead to toxic poison. If something is taken in excess, it can lead to toxic poison. That is, it can damage our health. It can serve as poison because if you are to take 1 spoon and you take 5 spoons, it may turn to poison because it is in excess form. Another thing is it can lead to overdose. If you take overdose, it can overreact in your body system. Another danger of self-medication or the health consequence of taking or misusing drug is it may be ineffective for the ailment. If you are to take 2 tablets of paracetamol as an example, and say, that 2 tablets is too much for me, I cannot take it, let me just take half, it will be ineffective for the ailment. And again, if you take it in excess, it can also result to ineffective for that particular ailment you are using it for. Number 4 is it may complicate the illness. What we are saying here is that if you want to treat malaria now, for example, and you are given drug to take, maybe 4 tablets, and now say, I want this drug to act fast, let me take 8 so that I will not need to take in the afternoon. It may complicate the illness. That is, it may cause another illness or another problem for you. That is another one. The last one under that one is it can cause death. Before you know, sometimes if you mistakenly or intentionally take drugs in excess, or if you take it without prescription by the medical personnel, it may not work for what you intended to use it for, and it may result into death. Those are the dangers of self-medication, or what we can regard it as health consequence of drug misuse, drug abuse and self-medication. What are the necessity for medical advice on drugs. Necessity for medical advice on drugs. 1. Some drugs have side effects which may cause another problem. Yes, it is true. Some people will say, if I take paracetamol to cure headache, before I know, the following day what will follow is stomach upset. So some drugs have side effects which may cause another problem. Number 2 necessity for medical advice on drug is that to know the correct dosage. To know the correct dosage. Taking the correct dosage is very, very important, because if you just say, let me take any dosage, I just want to get relieved, it may cause another problem. So to know the correct dosage is one of the necessities for medical advice on drugs. The third one is to know the time and mode of administration. Okay, if it should be taken in the morning, the medical personnel will tell you, they will advise you that if you want to take this kind of drug, you take it at night, because it is a drug that induces sleep. So they will advise you to take it at night. So then mode of administration, they will tell you. The last one under that necessity for medical advice on drug is to know the drugs that actually work. To know the drugs that actually work for your body system. Those are the necessity for medical advice on drugs. What are the groups of commonly abused drugs? We want to look at groups of commonly abused drugs. I said in the earlier on that people usually abuse drugs, but we group them into various ways. We have narcotic drugs, medically used for pain relief. An example of narcotic drugs are the following: heroin, morphine, and so on. We have depressants or sedative drugs, medically used for treatment of insomnia, that is sleepiness, and epilepsy. Example of depressants is barbiturates. Barbiturates is an example of depressants. Another group of commonly abused drugs is stimulant drugs. Stimulant drugs to relieve main depression and keeping patients awake in narcolepsy. An example we have here are cocaine, dexedrine, benzedrine, and so on. Those are the examples of stimulant drugs. They are taken in order to hide our emotion or our action. Stimulant drugs. Number 4 is hallucinogenic drugs. Hallucinogenic drug. Please take note. HALLUCINOGENIC. Hallucinogenic drugs. They have no therapeutic uses but to produce hallucination. Example of hallucinogenic drugs are marijuana, cannabis, LSD, that is lysergic acid. Those are the groups of commonly abused drugs. What are the factors that determine the effect of drugs? Factors that determine the effect of drugs. Among them are dosage, potency, that is particular results, solubility, sites, that is where you apply that drug. Then the last one is synergism. Those are the factors that determine the effect of drugs in our body. How to identify drug abusers? We've been talking on drug abuse, drug misuse, and self-medication. But I want to consider how to identify drug abusers. Now, among them are unusual red eyes. If you see someone that is abusing drug, you will observe that their eyes is always red. Unusual red eyes. Number 2 is unusual sweating. After taking or after abusing drug, you will see them sweating profusely. That is another way of identifying drug abuse. Number 3 is loitering in unusual places. You will see them roaming about, loitering in an unusual places. Another thing that we observe in a drug abuser that will let you know that this person is one of the drug abusers is drastic loss of weight. The person will be losing weight every day. Drastic loss of weight. Another thing is sunglasses worn at inappropriate time. You see them early in the morning, the person will wear sunglasses when it is not the right time to do so. Number 6 is constant licking of the lips. You see them licking the lips all the time. Constant licking of the lips. Another thing is neglect of personal hygiene. If you see them, you know, this boy is very, very dirty. They engage themselves in shabby dressing. The attitude of maintaining personal hygiene is not part of their agenda, so they neglect personal hygiene. Another one is tremor, that is tremor, shaking of the hands all the time. They'll be shivering, shaking, and so on. Those are the points that can help us to identify drug abuse. Now we move to reason for drug use, drug misuse, and drug abuse. Reasons for drug use, misuse, and abuse. Number 1, to cure illness and ailment. As I said in the earlier on, when I was discussing on the uses of drug, we use drug in order to cure illness and ailments. If you want to get well as soon as possible, you take drug. So another thing is for social integration. Some people misuse drug because they want to integrate themselves. They want to mix up with their colleagues. So for social integration, people misuse drug or abuse drug. Number 3, as an escape route from real life problems. Some people just want to get escape from the real life problem, so they will now start misusing drug. Another thing that can enhance misuse of drug is peer group influence or peer group pressure. If you see your peer group misusing drug, and they would like to encourage you to join them, so that is peer group influence or pressure. Another thing is imitation or association with drug users. If you mix up with drug users, know how, you will imitate them because you have been associating yourself with them. You have been seeing them using it, abusing it. They will encourage you to do so. to increase creativity and ability to study hard and perform well. This is common among the students because they want to perform excellently in the academic. They will now take drug, they will misuse drug, they want to boost their morale in order to perform excellently in their academics. Another thing is ignorance of the effect on emotional well-being. Some people are not aware of the effects of the drug on the emotional well-being, so they take it and they don't know the implication or the side effects of that drug. Non-enforcement of drug law. People have seen people around them taking drug, abusing drug, misusing drug, and no enforcement of drug law on that. So they now say we are free to what? To misuse drug, to take drug, and to abuse drug. Another reason for drug use, misuse, and abuse is to overcome shyness and feel high. Especially, let me take this as an example. If a man is getting married to a woman and the person is someone that used to shy, his friend may encourage him to take alcohol, to abuse drugs, so that it will not feel that shyness, so that it will overcome the shyness and feel high during the program. So reason for using drug or misusing drug is to overcome shyness and feel high. The last point that I will discuss on the reasons for drug use, misuse, and abuse is availability of drugs. These drugs are available to drug abusers, so they take it anytime they see it. They say, okay, this drug is available, it means we should take or make use of it. Those are the reasons for drug use, misuse, and drug abuse. Ways of preventing drug abuse among the youth. The ways of preventing drug abuse among the youth. Number one is general education, or what I can call public enlightenment on drug effects. General education or public enlightenment on effect of drug should be well known to the youth so that they will not engage themselves in drug abuse. Number two is school day should be enjoyable and fully engaged. School day should be enjoyable and fully engaged. This simply means whenever students are in school, they should be fully engaged and make sure they enjoy their stays in school by giving them meal, giving them time to play, and giving them time to read. Number three is punishment should be commensurate to the offense. Ways of preventing drug abuse among the youth is that once someone is caught misusing drug, they should punish that person. That is, punishment should be in accordance with the offense he or she committed. Number four, display posters on effects of drugs. On the walls, around the corners, everywhere, posters should be displayed on effects of drugs so that youth will abstain themselves from misusing drug. The last one is government should ban the use of hard drugs. Though government have been working on that, but they need to work more on banning of the usage of hard drugs. So they must enforce it that no youth should misuse or use hard drug for any reason. The next thing is drug in sports. Drugs in sports. Drug in sports. What is doping? When we are talking about doping, it means use of illicit drug. For example, okay, let me say dopes are substances that are consumed by athletes with the intention of modifying advantageously his performance or to give himself ergogenic aid. Some athletes, they consume drug or they take in drug in order to perform excellently in their athletic activities. So this leads to what we call ergogenic aid. Ergogenic aid is any substance which is consumed to aid or enhance performance. This is commonly used among the sportsmen and sportswomen because it is used to enhance performance, to delay the onset of fatigue, and hasten or quicken recovery, because some people will perform in first stage of athletic, second stage, and they don't want to get tired as easy as that. They now take ergogenic aid, that is any substance that is consumed to aid or enhance performance. Why do athletes dope? One, because of an intense desire to improve performance beyond the physiological level. They want people to see them that their performance is extraordinary. The second one is because of the social, political, and economic reward they want to gain from performing in athletics. So because of this social, political, and economic reward, athletes dope. Now let us look at the effect of doping in sports. Effect of doping in sports. Number one, they create alertness. They create alertness. Number two, effect is they decrease sensitivity to pain. They will not feel the pain. In fact, if they are suffering from any pain, they will not feel it at that moment. Number three is they improve ability to concentrate. They improve ability to concentrate. While the last one is they make athletes hostile and aggressive. Those are the effects of doping in sports. Thank you.